Rightside. An exciting card lined up tonight. It's like Christmas Eve for me. The first national football game is going to get underway. Looks like, 6 p.m. right now, so we're going to wait about maybe another hour and a half to 2 hours before that one gets underway. I'll be joined shortly by guest host here, Drew Martin from @SBR Sports Picks and Sportsbook Review, doing great things with NCAA football. Tonight, we're going to take a look at Major League Baseball, college football, some of the upcoming games, and most importantly, the NFL card this evening, which again starts with the New England Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs. A little bit later in the show, Editor-in-Chief Zach Jones typically comes in and reads us the news, giving us stuff from across the wire, but Matty DeSaro is going to pinch hit and give us the news in just a little bit. I do want to bring in my co-host today, guest Drew Martin. Welcome into the show, Drew.
Hey, Donnie, thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited to be a part of closing time. You're popping my closing time cherry here, man, so be careful.
Hey, there we go. Hey, absolutely. I mean, obviously seeing Drew around the channel quite a bit. They're host of the weekly roundtable, on Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great time with that show. Drew talks everything, as you know, with Major League Baseball, college football, NFL. Happy to have him on the show tonight so we can drop some knowledge on this one. One game in the card today, Drew, already completed for the Major League Baseball card. New York Yankees, Baltimore Orioles, Sonny Gray versus Gaussman, a 9-1 final. Yankees picked up an easy victory in that one. Closing line on the total was 9, went over by 1 run. However, 61% of the public, Yankees in one. Line didn't move that much. Chris had it at 113, Pinnacle at 110, Bet Online at 110. Not a lot of line movement, so congratulations to the public if you're on the right side of that game. An easy 9-1 winner. Aaron Judge went deep in the first inning of that game. Yankees didn't look back. A nice victory there. Congratulations if you had the New York Yankees, or, drowned in your sorrows in some alcoholic beverages if you did side with the Baltimore Orioles today. A thick, actually, I should say opposite of that. Not a thick card in Major League Baseball this evening, but we're going to dip down. Drew, ready to talk a little bit of baseball before we hit the NFL action, buddy?
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, that 9-1 game you were just talking about, an important one run there by the Baltimore Orioles in an evenly lined game.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I mean, maybe if you bought it up, I don't know, like in football, you can buy points. If you bought 8.5 runs in that game, congratulations. Obviously, I joke around, but a complete blowout there. Yankees seem like they're ready for September baseball heading into October. We'll see how they continue there, see what the Boston Red Sox do, but a tight race in the AL East. Game one we're going to talk about today, Drew, 901, 902. That's Aaron Nola on the mound versus Tanner Roark. The Washington Nationals, about 5,400 tickets have been tracked offshore. 72% backing the home team here with the Washington Nationals. Not really surprised. Aaron Nola has been a great pitcher for the most part of the year for the Philadelphia Phillies. However, in his last 3 or 4 starts, Drew, he's been tacked out there. We're going to see if that continues tonight with the Washington Nationals. But also Washington, if you're looking at betting a Roark angle, you know what you get from the guy. I mean, he's a standard pitcher out there. 2, 3, 4 innings per outing. The Philadelphia Phillies just winding down the season, trying to get a lot of these new players in. Obviously, Washington in full, complete control of the National League East heading into the playoffs. What do you see out of this game, Drew? Any thoughts? Or, you're going to back Nolan in this situation? He is getting plus 150, plus 140, depending on some of the outlets that you're taking a look at now.
Yeah, Donnie, I remember you on the roundtable saying backing the Phillies it's always a risk, obviously, but the times you would look to do it would be when Nola's on the hill. This was a few weeks ago before his downturn. But I'll tell you, where this game is priced at, open minus 165, now into the mid minus 140s, I would much rather have Roark, the solid pitcher like you touched on, with the better team, the much better lineup. So looking at this price point, mid minus 140s, it'd be the Nats or pass for me, Donnie.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, I would agree. I don't like to lay that much money. I mean, Roark's actually the one guy there, Drew, I would look towards betting against if you're betting against the Washington Nationals. Tough to do. I mean, Sharps have been trying to bet against Gio all season long. Hasn't worked out that well. Strasburg's been great. Obviously, Max Scherzer on the mound. So I think the Phillies actually hold here, Drew, a little bit of value if you're looking just, getting that plus 130, plus 140, depending on where you're shopping at. But to me, it's a no-touch game. It's hard to bet the Philadelphia Phillies. Back when, agree, that Nola was pitching really well, it's an easy target. And you know what? The only backable game that we can have is the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't know about that so much anymore. I know the Washington Nationals don't have their full go lineup in the order tonight, 1 through 8, but it's hard to back the Phillies at this point. If I had to make a wager on this game, I would take the underdog Philadelphia Phillies here. Maybe Nola catches fire again. But again, you're right. Last 3 out of 4 starts for Nola have not been good. Next up on the docket here, 903, 904, Chicago Cubs and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Lester versus Tyone. 41% are backing the home team here, Drew. Line opened up at minus 140. Backtracking a little bit there at Chris at minus 128. Pinnacle minus 130. You wager minus 130. So we do see a little bit of reverse line movement despite 59% of the public backing the Chicago Chicago Cubs here. Total opened up at 8.5, Drew. Here's one that we like talking about on the closing line. 8.5, it opens up, Drew. Now sitting at 7.5. So it looks like the public and some sharps lining up, thinking this game's going to be an under here.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, 7.5, we got Tyon versus Leicester in a pitcher's park. I agree with this line move. It opened with the heavy juice towards the under, but even down to 7.5, there's no way I'm betting this over, Donnie.
Yeah, interesting thing about this game, I joke about it all the time, and I'll continue doing, because obviously doing the closing line show Monday through Friday, it's going to be a lot of baseball talk, probably get at least 4 out of 5 days the Pirates are going to play. They've taken more money, Drew. I'm going to tell every guest on here, the Pirates have taken more money out of my pocket than any other Major League Baseball team. I'm going to abstain from this game. If I'm just looking at it overall, trying to read some lines, I would lean towards betting Pittsburgh at home, but I just can't trust their offense. It's, you know, when I bet them, when I need them to score an over, they can't do it. When I need them to stay under, they pop up with 7 to 8 runs. I'm going to stay away from this baseball game. So good luck out there, listeners. If you have a way that you're leaning in this one, you want to take John Lester, who, again, he hasn't been that good in his last couple starts. Good luck with that one, but it's a low line. I think it's there for a reason. If I had to bet the game, I would be leaning towards Pittsburgh here. 9:05, 9:06, Maley on the mound for the Cincinnati Reds versus the New York Mets and Matt Harvey. How about this turn of events, Drew? Only 38% of the betting public's backing Matt Harvey at home here. The game opened up roughly about a pick'em. Chris now sitting a minus 128 with the Reds. How far the mighty have fallen. Once Harvey was one of those dominant power pitchers you had to back each and every time that he came onto the mound the last 2 to 3 years. Now, an afterthought, comes back after an extended stay on the disabled list. He gets torched by Houston. The kid on the mound for Cincinnati's had 2 good starts. I believe it's 11 innings, maybe 2 or 3 earned runs that he's given up over those past 11 innings that he started. Line tells me everything I need to know here. Despite 61% of the public on Cincinnati, if I had to play this wager here, I would take the Cincinnati Reds here, Drew.
Absolutely. Follow this move, Donnie. I mean, ever since the Dark Knight was out, what was that, Cinco de Mayo out in New York all night long? It seems like ever since I heard that story, I'm like, dude, this guy is a fade-only candidate. And here, it'd be 9:05 Cincinnati for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's slim pickings on the card tonight. Again, September baseball is its own animal. You look at some of these lineups, you scratch your head trying to find out who exactly are these guys. You see pitchers coming into the game you've never heard of, so always tread lightly in September. This week, not having a good week, 1-3 overall after having a 3-1 week last week. So we'll try to find some of this value that sticks out, maybe try to peg a winner or two that we can climb on top of. 9:07, 9:08, Miami and the Atlanta Braves. Straley Newcomb's going to be on the mound. 74%, Drew, of the public currently backing here on moneyline numbers. Dan Straley on the road with Miami. Line opened up at 115 at Chris, currently showing at 124. Pinnacle at 113. They open, now at 127. So you got some good line movement. All that public support, maybe some sharp support coming down also with the Marlins in this situation. I actually would lean towards taking the Marlins here. I like the way Straley's been all season long, keeping an ERA below. I mean, what does he have? 28, 29 starts on the season, an ERA below 4. I think he could do some yeoman's work tonight. Those Miami bats wake up. I'm going to lean towards Miami, the Marlins in this game here, Drew.
Yeah, I'd be with you. And Donnie, where I'm at as far as baseball betting is, most of my focus is on college football right now. As far as betting baseball, it's more, when I'm out watching a game, I'll throw a couple shackles on it, more for like a fun and entertainment side. I love to pay attention to the betting markets, as do you. And when you talk about the fish, I remember back in April, May, June, you could almost just make money off of knowing the fish were taking money. There was some big groups, some big bettors really like in Miami. Have we seen that the last month? Are they still taking big money in the line moves going towards the Marlins?
Going towards the Marlins, I mean, not so much lately. I mean, since they're out of the playoff race, I think the only thing that anybody cares about right now, Drew, to be honest with the Marlins, is Stanton going to hit 61 home runs. I mean, What else do they have? They're going to play Stanton probably each and every night because that's what they want to happen. Stanton's not going to give a damn about what he does in the outfield. There have been a couple, which is an interesting point, Drew. A couple games I've watched lately in the past 2 weeks with the Marlins, there's been some flares out to right field, some shots, against the wall, where he's not really laying out or getting to that ball because he knows what's in the cards. Why would he want to lay out, bang up a shoulder, bang up a rib? And I get all that. They're out of the playoffs. Only thing with the Miami Marlins I'm looking for right now is Stanton to get to 61. But in this spot tonight, I actually think they're a decent wager. I like the line movement. You're getting a cheap number. I know Atlanta Braves struggled a little bit, but I'm going to lean towards Marlins in this situation. But it's a good point that you bring up there, though, Drew.
Yeah, and Donnie, I mean, as far as, is he getting a lot of hate for that? Not going that extra step for those balls that are tough? Because I don't think he should.
We joke all the time. Yeah, there's a hurricane bearing down on South Florida. There's a lot of other things to worry about. But we've seen the crowds all year long here, Drew, in South Florida, and for the past couple years. Honest to God, there's more at a high school baseball game probably in South Florida than the Marlins attract. They all just want to see the home run, big, strong guy out there. Let's get it. Let's see if we can tack on 61. Outside of that, I don't think there's too much interest overall in that baseball club.
Yeah, you got to love the South Florida market, man. I mean, that's where I grew up. If it's not a Super Bowl, a Heat in the finals, or Miami, Florida State
in Tampa, yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to do. It's very, I don't want to say transient, obviously, because there's a heavy Latino influence down there. There's a lot of things to do in South Florida. The one thing that they don't like to do is show up at games. And one of my favorite things, you were probably down at the same time, Pro Player Stadium, whatever they were, Land Shark Stadium, whatever they were calling that when the Marlins actually were the home team there. You remember the whole fallacy coming up? Say, hey, man, look, it's rainy in South Florida. It's really hot, but trust me on this. If we build a dome stadium, they're all going to come out to the ballpark. What do they come out? 2 nights out of the last 300 seasons down there. It seems like amazing. Fleece the public with the money down there, with always the adage, same thing in Tampa Bay for me, Drew. You're telling me if they get out of Tropicana Field, they're all of a sudden just going to have an unbelievable fan base for the Tampa Rays? I don't think so.
No, definitely not. I mean, they need a small ballpark in Tampa, but I will say this, that Tropicana, it's amazing that MLB plays in that stadium. That thing is terrible.
And how would they even allow it? I mean, it's almost, when it came in, it was supposed to be a stopgap. Like, yes, we got a team in Tampa Bay. Let's see what happens here. We'll get the public support. A couple years, we'll build a stadium. And all of a sudden, nobody supported it. Now they they basically play in a basketball arena, which makes me laugh, where, you can hit the roof, or the roof is white. You can barely see the baseball. Have you actually been to a game in Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I've been to like 3 of them. The ball hit one of the railings one time.
What's the feeling when you walk in? Like, do you expect to see like a basketball game and you look up and be like, somebody's going to hit the roof today?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. They have rules when it hits the walkways. It's ridiculous. How do you play baseball there, man?
No, absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, getting back to the Marlins there, I lean towards them tonight. I don't really like that heavy public support on their side, but I do think it's the right one. 9-0-9-9-10. Interesting game here. St. Louis, San Diego. Lynn on the mound versus Richard. Again, another heavy road favorite here, Drew. 79% of the public are backing Lance Lynn in the situation. Line opened up pretty steep, 155. Now seeing a reverse of about 30 cents down to 122 at Chris. Pinnacle opened up at 119, a little bit lower. They're about at 122. So probably a better gauge is on the lower level. You wager 122, 5 dimes, 122. Bovada, a little bit of a square book there at minus 129 total in this one, 8.5. Lynn has obviously over the past couple of games pitched a lot better than Richard, but one of those sneaky little ballparks, not a lot of fanfare there, similar to like I like to point at the Oakland A's, where, you get into that environment. There's not a lot of cheering. I mean, we all know St. Louis is, what do they call it? Baseball heaven. It doesn't matter if they're winning or losing, sold out crowd. If the visiting team makes a great play, they cheer for it. Going to San Diego, a little bit, impartiality out there, because again, nobody really cares about baseball or shows up there as well. I would lean towards taking the St. Louis Cardinals tonight. Square as heck, I'm going to go here, Drew. Square.
Yeah, square side's not always the wrong side, though, Donnie. And as far as playing in Petco, I actually think that's one of the best ballparks I've ever been to until I went to SunTrust in Atlanta. It's beautiful. And Clayton Richard, it's amazing what this guy's been able to do as far as a career. He's been in baseball for, it seems like, forever, and he's never actually that good. But obviously he's getting paid for it. And the Petco Park atmosphere, I think, is why, as far as the dimensions. He's a veteran lefty, doesn't necessarily throw very hard, so those fly balls go to die in Petco. But I agree with you. If I'm betting this one, it's square for me, so it's the Cards or pass.
Yeah, I don't like either lineup overall on the season there. So, obviously, if we take a look at some quick numbers there, Lance Lynn, 8 innings, 1 hit versus San Francisco's last time out. If we're looking at Richard, 6 innings, 3 earned runs versus the Dodgers. So, if we're going to throw in maybe a total play on this as well, 8.5, I'll lean towards the under. I'm usually an over better, but hey, in that ballpark there at night, ball doesn't carry that well. I'll lean towards an under in this situation. 9-11, 9-12, Colorado and the Los Angeles Dodgers. What's going wrong with the Dodgers? It's anybody's guess. Not that many injuries at this point anymore. Clayton Kershaw's back in the fold. If we take a look at this game, Drew, you can get a cheap line on Kershaw right now. If we check in at Chris at 310, Pinnacle 308, Bet Online 315. Now, Drew, one would think with these numbers here, you got your ace on the mound, and hey, the Dodgers probably won 15 in a row, right? They're rolling. No price is, low enough or high enough in the situation.
Yeah, so what is up with this? Explain this to me.
Reversal here.
Oh, no, Donnie, I sorry, you were cutting out on our time, but I was just going to ask you. 6 total right now at Bet Chris, and a minus 300 favorite. You don't see that very often. As far as if you see a minus 300 favorite, it's usually a total at least 7 or higher. So this is a unique angle as far as betting this game, no?
Yeah, when do you see a 6 out there? It's a great point on that because I was watching it all day. It was 6.5, but again, yeah, Chris is showing up at 6. You still got you wager 6.5, 5 dimes 6.5. 3-3, Drew. If this game is 3-3 at any point in this game, you have a winner in your back pocket. It's almost astounding where you're saying, like, I know how good Kershaw is. Comes off the DL, throws a shutout, back to good old Clayton Kershaw. Outside of Coors, Colorado's not the same ball club. But don't you just use sometimes some simple math here? Jeff and I talk all the time on the right side of campus. The joke is, one swing of the bat. Let's just say you get an error, a walk by Kershaw, and somebody just gets lucky. And, Charlie Blackmon with a 3-run home run in this game. You're halfway home to a victory in this one. So I'll go square again here, and I'll take the over 6 in this game, Drew.
Yeah, you'll take the over, and I agree with you on that. And I also think the Rocks are a good look here. I mean, you can put, plus two and change in your pocket. Also, run line, plus 1.5. You're still getting plus money. With it lined at 6 as the total, I'd love to have an extra run and a half in my pocket. Hell, I'm actually going to bet this right now.
It's an amazing line. I mean, and again, 70% of the money line tickets, Drew, 70% are still coming in on the Dodgers. So you're laying almost 3-1 in that ball game just to get some value back. I mean, hey, Clayton Kershaw, an unbelievable pitcher. But are we just betting this game again saying, hey, well, the Dodgers can't lose every single night. If you've been doing that for the past 2 weeks, you need to cash out refinance on your house at this point, Drew.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened to them, but they're still commanding 300 right now. So let's take advantage of that. I'm serious. I'm going with the Rocks right now on my BOL account.
Speaking of minus 300 here, let's dip into the next game where you actually might get supreme value here if you're betting. Cleveland and the Chicago White Sox, Kluber and Rondon on the mound. 50, actually, it looks like about 5,000, tickets have been wagered offshore on this one. 78% are backing the Cleveland Indians here. You can get the basement bottom price, $260, $271, $250, $258 across the board, laying a road favorite of that much. I know the White Sox are a mess. I get all that. I know how well that Kluber has pitched. Rodon, not exactly the greatest pitcher out there. He does strike out an average of 6 people per start, but you would lean, obviously, the much, much better bullpens on the Indians, the much better pitchers on the Indians, the much better hitting lineup is on the Indians, but I'm not getting involved where I'm laying over 2.5 on a road favorite here, Drew. I'll abstain from this game, and I don't just want to take a flyer and say, let's get a lottery ticket on the Chicago White Sox going. I just don't think that's the smart move in this one.
Yeah, Indians way too pricey here for me, Donnie. As far as Rodon on the hill, I actually like him. The NC State grad, kind of a high ceiling guy, a high draft pick. So, talent-wise, he's there coming from the left side. He's the way I would look, but I mean, the White Sox just suck, and the Indians too pricey here. So I'm watching from the sidelines for sure.
One more game I want to go over here, which is an interesting turnaround. One of the punching bags in Major League Baseball. It seems like some of these guys having a rebirth in Minnesota. 9-15, 9-16 on the rotation here. Gibson and Gavilio, about 3,000 tickets have been wagered offshore. 65% are actually backing the road team here with the Minnesota Twins. Line opened up at Chris, minus 112. Sitting at Chris, minus 110. Looks like minus 106 at Pinnacle, minus 108 at Bet Online. So you're getting roughly a pick'em here, but almost, 65%. Looks like, but I would say roughly 65%, 36% coming in on the Kansas City Royals in this situation. Gibson, amazing. One of the guys I used to fade repeatedly. Like, this guy couldn't get out of his own way. 3, 4 innings, 5 innings, 5, 6 earned runs. Take a look at some of his numbers. His last 3 starts, Drew, 1.37 ERA. I don't know if him and Bartolo Colon have just found something out. Maybe they found one of them special supplements up in GNC. I don't know what it is, but he's pitching well. Gavilio, who hasn't started in 2 months, and in his starts back in July, he's been shelled. So something interesting, something's got to give. On a normal day, Drew, 9.5 is the total here. I would be betting that every single day over. But I've watched Kyle Gibson pitch the past couple of games. He actually looks really good out there.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. He might have found some good multivitamins or something. I mean, he's always had that good arm release and kind of looked like he always should be better than he has. But he's always sucked. I've actually lost a lot of money on him, like you were talking earlier. So I kind of stopped betting Gibson last year. And it's one of those things in sports betting when you can't figure a team out or a pitcher out. I've always found it's just better to stay away because they will burn a hole in your pocket, and Gibson's that for me, so I'm not involved.
Yeah, no, that's the baseball card, short baseball card tonight. But obviously, with the closing line, we want to get you ready for first pitch. We're about 30 minutes outside of those games. Only one game finished up today. Easy victory again if you're just catching the show here. If you didn't get the updated scores, 9-1 victory by the New York Yankees in that one. But again, Drew, it's September 7th. We've circled the wagons for this game. Super Bowl champions in the house tonight. New England Patriots versus the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to talk a little bit of NFL football at this point, and it's refreshing. It's real refreshing because in baseball during the season, highly bet games, you'll see 2,500 tickets, 5,000 tickets, 5,500 tickets wagered offshore right now. And this line is only, or this number is only going to explode tonight. 37,500 tickets have been wagered so far offline. 36% of the spread tickets here, Drew, actually going towards the Kansas City Chiefs, which obviously the public favorite tonight. I don't know if it's the sharp favorite, but the New England Patriots getting 64% there. Line opened up a while back at Chris at -7. Chris sitting at -8 right now. Pinnacle at 8. Bet Online at 8. You wager at 8.5. Let's see, we got here Bet US at -9, 5 Dime sitting at -10, but obviously that's a reduced juice line sitting at +110 in that situation. Drew, I've looked at this game from every different angle. We've seen it all season. You had months and months and months to get ready for this game. Jeff and I talked on the right side of campus. We talked on the roundtable. Just looking at this game, I like to be a contrarian bettor, but I just can't find myself right now backing the Kansas City Chiefs. The one thing, Drew, that does scare me in this game, everybody seems to be thinking the way I am. What gives here, buddy?
I think it's the fact that Kansas City, they don't throw the ball deep. And when you just hit these out routes all the time against New England, that's like where they succeed, where they're just going to chew you up. And obviously betting against Tom Brady and company, Belichick, extra time to prepare going into the opening week. I mean, it's just tough not to bet the Pats, even though you're laying more than the touchdown sidewise. I can't recommend going against that. I mean, looking at this total as well, I kind of agree with this move towards the under. Do you not, Donnie?
Yeah, I'm not really good. I don't focus that much on totals in the first couple weeks of the season, but anytime in the NFL, it's just standard. When you see a number in the high 40s, the value automatically turns into the under, except if it's like a New Orleans Saints to me, and it's just going to be an absolute shootout. Because the one thing that we know, New England's going to play good defense. Bill Belichick's had months and months to get ready for this game. He knows Andy Reid knows what type of scheme they're going to be running. You have a rookie in the backfield. And again, Kareem Hunt loved the kid, one of my favorite players, and has a lot of Frank Gore in him. But they're going to take away Kelsey at the tight end position. They're going to force you to use your wide receivers on Kansas City, which aren't very good. And again, who better to be an under quarterback than Alex Smith? Number one, he's not going to turn the football over. Number two, he's not going to go for the home run. So if you look for Kansas City to go on scoring drives, Drew, what are we looking at? 8, 9, 10, 11 plays, 6, 7-minute drives, chewing up that clock. They're the perfect under type team, right?
I agree with you. Yeah, absolutely. And you just hit on it. He just doesn't throw the ball deep for whatever reason. I wonder if that's something he learned when he was younger or if that's part of the game plan. I doubt it, but it's like, 5-yard out, 10-yard out, time after time after time. So I agree with you. They're just going to be chewing up the clock. Casey, you bring up a good point. It might be a good under bet going forward in the next couple weeks, but definitely here. I guess you always have the chance of, New England running it up, kind of the NFL runaway train, if you will. But I'm not sure. How are you feeling about Kansas City's defense this year?
I like Kansas City's defense. I mean, they've always done a good job. They have athletes over there. Eric Berry back on the back end. There's not too many guys better. Peters is a very good defensive back. They're going to get after the pass rusher. Justin Houston healthy for the first time in a while. And I like the defensive scheme, and they're going to be ready for this game. But again, you're dealing with Tom Brady. You're dealing with Tom Brady at home. He's got a bunch of new toys. I get Edelman's out. There's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, so to speak. But again, if you say, hey, at season, hey, you're going to lose Edelman, but you're going to gain Cooks. I mean, come on. I mean, this team is going to roll. You didn't have Gronkowski. Now you have Gronkowski back. They're at home. Weather's going to be nice. Tom Brady's going to be throwing the football. But yeah, it's interesting. Bet Online just showing up now at a 47.5 as an over-under. Most outlets offshore still showing in that 48 range. But what it all boils down to is I need to see Kansas City move the football and move the football at will. I don't know if they can do that. And looks like also Chris taking in some money right now, bumping it up to 8.5. You wagered 8.5 now. Greek's still sitting at 8. So you're going to have a lot of line movement coming in throughout the evening in this game. I doubt you see a 7 in this game. I don't think this number is going to settle in at 9, somewhere in that range. I would look to see maybe 8, 8.5 by game time. It's hard for me to bet a home team there, Drew, giving up that many points, even though, again, This is Tom Brady. They want a showcase game. I get all that. But Andy Reid has a way to sneak around the chicken coop at the end. But if I just had to bet this football game, it's got to be New England for me or nothing. I just can't see Kansas City moving the ball consistently enough with their offensive weapons versus the New England Patriots. I have to go Patriots here. I got to be square again.
Yeah, I do too. And if you're looking to go on Kansas City, it looks like the Greek is actually showing a 9. So you could put 9 points in your pocket on the Chiefs. I agree with you, though. If it's sidewise, it's New England for me. At home, Tom Brady, Belichick, like you just said. So, yep, that's the only way I could.
Yeah. Just to wrap it up a little bit on the NFL before we get to the college football card, I do understand this game and how to bet it. But again, Ian brought up a great point on the roundtable going back a couple days ago. Looking at this game, when you bet underdogs in the NFL, it's not so much the thought process of you saying, you know what, I think they can hang around this football game and I think they might have a chance. You actually have to believe that Kansas City can come into New England and beat them outright in order to take those points. Because I see a lot of people say, what's the one statistic out there? If you just pick the winner of the NFL game, forget about the point spread, just the winner, like 60% of the time, you're going to cover the spread along with that. So you have to actually believe Kansas City is coming here to win the football game and not pull a Kent State and take a knee and not try to get hurt here, right?
Yeah, actually, I love that stat as well. I mean, just picking the right team in the NFL. Yeah. In the Kent State reference, man, what happened with Kent State?
Look, throughout the season, Drew, you're going to be on a lot with me. We're going to do a lot of shows together. Don't feel bad when I bring up Kent State in every type of situation to bash a bad football team because it's coming.
And what happened with the quarterback situation? How many yards did they throw for against Clemson?
They threw for 1 yard, which again, it's not even the matter that it was 1 yard. In college football, like if you get sacked or like the punter goes down, they just knock off your rushing yards or whatever it is against it. So you could say like, oh, they rushed for minus 62 yards, but they took 10 sacks. They threw for 1 yard in that football game. And again, I don't even know how we even got on this topic. I should have never brought up Kent State because I can have my own show, and instead of the closing line, we'll call it closing in on Kent State. Just awfulness, and I don't even want to go down that path. But yes, 1 passing yard when you're down over 30, 40 points at any given time, that's embarrassing, which again, great segue here for us, Drew, over to college football. There's one game on tonight I didn't even look at. Did you look at this Idaho State, Utah State game at all, Drew?
Not really, man. I'd love to, but I don't do the FCS, FBS like I should.
Yeah, 33.5. Idaho State's in town versus Utah State. I'm sure now, is there a wager out there? I know you like to look at like the pay-per-view numbers over 5 million. You hit that one rather easily. Can you give me the numbers? Does Utah State have a chance to outpoint, so to speak, this New England game tonight? Maybe get a little bit more views or no?
No, absolutely not. Would you actually bet that?
No, I was just joking around with you on that. Let's hit this college football card. I know we had a couple games that we had picked out that you sent over to me that we want to take a look at. So let's get right to it. One of the games that was moved because of the hurricane is Memphis and Central Florida. 483, 484 on the rotation here. Spread ticket numbers, 25% bet. The road team here, Memphis. Line opened up at Chris at 2.5, currently sits at 3.5. Pinnacle opened up at 3, currently sitting at 3. Also, the over-under in this game opened at Chris at 64, now sits 68.5. Pinnacle was a little bit more liberal with that number going at 68, now sitting at 69.5. So it looks like there's points going to be scored. The one thing I want to pick your brain at, Drew, is when capping this football game, going from a Saturday to a Friday, shortens the week from Memphis because they also have to include some travel. Is that going to make a difference here?
Yeah, it absolutely will, Donnie. And just to touch on what we were talking about, the pay-per-view thing, I was asking, would you actually bet that with a spread, as far as how many more millions?
Yeah. What would be the spread be? Like plus like 62 million people? Like what would be this line in that
one? Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't even know where to begin on that. But as far as Memphis, UCF, actually, these are two teams in the AAC. With all due respect to USF, I think these two got a shot to win it. I think that both offensively, they're two of the top teams in the conference, and both defenses are not bad. You see it in the line, especially the total as high as 69.5 right now at 5 dimes. UCF, I believe, opened minus 1.5, shot down to Pick'em, now up to over 3.5. I gave it out on Marketology at minus 1.5 and took the bad side because when Marketology, I guess, hit the waves, it was down at Pick'em, but now it's shot up over 3. Interesting move. I think it has something to do with what you're saying as far as the movement, but keep in mind both of these teams did play last Thursday, so it's not a Saturday to Friday, like Saturday to Saturday, moving from Saturday to Friday, hurting the away team. They'll actually have more than 7 days to prepare for this, Memphis will. Breaking down this game, I love both offenses against each defense. So I'm looking towards the over. It's already moved higher than 67.5. Scott Frost, Mackenzie Milton, the quarterback there, I just think it's a perfect fit. You know, he's not an NFL-style quarterback, but he's a kid that's a dual-threat kid, almost like a poor man's Johnny Manziel. When you watch him in this game, he can really move around for a white boy. Memphis on the other side, we know them. Their offense is explosive. They're going to get theirs. It's going to be a shootout. I do like UCF on a sidewise, but as far as betting this, I'm betting this total up and over, Donnie.
Drew, let me ask you about some outside influence in this game. If we take a look at Memphis and Central Florida, obviously the hurricane bearing down on South Florida, obviously not in the vicinity of Orlando. It's going to be there a little bit later. But these kids are from Florida. A lot of these kids probably from Broward, Dade, down south. And again, even college kids in this situation, like most people are just looking to get out of town. One of these games, this was played, healthy, conditions, normal Central Florida night, you can pack the house in there. Is that going to affect the vibe of this overall game being it moved up? Maybe people can't make the game on a Friday looking to get out of town. Maybe the players on Central Florida worried. Do you use any of that when capping this game or maybe like an ulterior motive there?
Absolutely. I've dug into UCF a lot. My cousin actually goes there. I almost went there. In Bright House Network Stadium, it's a great stadium. What they got there on campus, it's a great atmosphere as far as a college goes. It's amazing that they're still in a Group of 5 conference. The Big 12 didn't get them. I don't know what the money was behind that. But as far as betting on a program going forward in a decade or so, this is one I would bet on, UCF. And in this particular game, I forget who was saying it, but you're not allowed to tailgate for it. They don't have the police protection for it. They obviously have their minds on other things in the state of Florida. So I believe they're opening the gates like an hour before. You got to go right in and sit at your seat. So it's probably going to affect the game atmosphere, at least early on. This would be a huge matchup for AAC football. Instead, it will likely be toned back, which I think would actually help Memphis. Memphis actually recruits South Florida pretty heavily as well, not as highly as UCF. UCF's down there pretty much getting whoever Miami, Florida, and Florida State don't get. So, yeah, kids are going to have their minds on the hurricane a little bit. But for the game, I would think, everybody pretty much knows this is a huge game. It's going to be a great one to watch as well.
Yeah, no. And by the way, out on the plains there, Jordan Hare, how about if they cut down tailgate and he just had to go into the stadium? Does that fly out there in Alabama or no?
Oh, dude, that would never work. You couldn't do that there. No way, Donnie. You know what those
moving here. Yeah.
Those rednecks and Budweiser and football, man. Hell, I'm calling myself a redneck.
Is that the preferred beer, by the way, when you guys were tailgating down there?
When I was in college,
big on down there because we just look for the cheapest thing we can get our hands on. But I don't know how it is in the dirty South down there.
No. When I was in college, it was Natural Light, and I don't call it Natty Light because that's disrespectful. It's Natural Light.
Disrespectful for that champagne beer, yes.
Exactly. But now I try to get a little more civilized, and it's mostly Budweiser for me.
Got you, man. We'll keep it moving here. Let's go over to 9-9, which is Saturday. We'll start right off on the bat. 153, 154, Drew. Hawaii, UCLA. About 1,000 tickets have been tracked offshore. Obviously, as this game time gets a little bit close, that number is going to certainly spike. Early betting indications here, 78% of those tickets on the spread are going towards the UCLA Bruins in this situation. Chris opened up at 21.5. Now sits at 23.5. Pinnacle, 23.5. Bet Online, 23.5. You wager at 23.5. The one question I have in this game here is obviously we all watch UCLA, that huge comeback. Josh Rosen brought him all the way back there after we were clowning him about not being able to work on school and football at the same time. Maybe he should stick to one. Fantastic comeback, made some big-time throws, pulled the game out. My question to you, looking at this game and capping it, any wear down from UCLA, taking a breath saying, whew, man, now we got Hawaii out on the field. We should be able to take care of them. We won last week. Just roll the helmets out. We're feeling good. Or with that comeback, does that reinvigorate UCLA saying, you know what, we almost got caught slipping and we got lucky. Why don't we take care of business here?
No, I don't think so. I would go with the first one you said. I think that this spot-wise, besides it being at home, I think it's a terrible spot for the Bruins. And they got Hawaii coming in, a good dual-threat quarterback in Drew Brown. This kid can move around, and he's pretty accurate. I like Hawaii's offense. They took it to the FCS opponent, Western Carolina, last week. Actually didn't play as well. They beat UMass on the road, long travel for them. And another reason I like Hawaii in this matchup, Donnie, besides the fact that the spot-wise for UCLA, and also they have one less day to prepare. Remember that Texas A&M game was on Sunday night. Hawaii, when they traveled to the mainland, which a lot of people like to bet against them, they usually fly from Hawaii to LAX and then on to their next destination. Here, they'll just have the one flight. So in relative terms, it's a short trip for Hawaii. I like the quarterback play. I think that up front, Hawaii does look stronger. And remember, this is a bowl team last year. I think that they are improved. And I wouldn't be surprised if they stick within 3 touchdowns. I actually bet the Rainbow Warriors in this one, Donnie.
All right, how about that? How about 305, 306 on the rotation? Let's go to FAU versus Wisconsin in this one. 86% of the tickets coming in currently on the Wisconsin Badgers. Chris opened up at 33.5, actually sitting at 31 now. Pinnacle following suit, 31.5. Bet Online, 32. You wager 31.5. We also saw the opening. Navy took it to FAU, looking like a bounce-back situation. But again, one of those Florida teams, which Miami abstained and said, we're not going to play this football game, but FIU decided to get out of town, go play Wisconsin here again. A lot of those kids from FAU, from Broward, Dade County, maybe a little bit more on their minds. What am I going to come home to? Is the storm going to hit? Is my family okay? Is my dorm room going to be okay? How about our football facilities? Is that going to weigh into this game, or do you just think Wisconsin's going to roll their helmets out there, just get behind those big uglies, run the football, and pound the Florida Atlantic the way Navy did here?
Yeah, as far as the Hurricane goes, this is going to affect FAU and FIU a lot more. I believe FIU was the one that only had one recruit outside of the state of Florida. So to put in perspective, how many kids are going to be affected for FAU, FIU, it's huge. FAU, like you said, Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, over 50% of their players are from those 3 counties. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I would guess.
Sure. Yeah. No.
Yes, spot plays for FAU on the road with the Hurricane the week after facing Navy, diving at the legs. And keep in mind, the Owls going into it, Lane Kiffin was the most worried about his defensive line. So, Donnie, going from Navy to Wisconsin, a big offensive line going to be leaning on them again. I was looking to bet FAU big Wisconsin big in this matchup. I was hoping to get them in the 20s, though, with all of the kind of mainstream bettors loving FAU. It's here at 31.5. I'm still betting Wisconsin, and I like this one a lot, Donnie. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, no, we'll see if they can plug away on the ground. I don't know how much if Wisconsin's going to be able to cover that large of a number. I think sometimes look at FAU, they didn't look so good. But again, Navy can do that to you. It's such a unique type of team to get after and play. If you're not, I mean, again, there's no reason that FAU shouldn't have been ready for Navy. But to me, Navy was a much stronger program than obviously FAU. You don't really know what you're going to get, but at least you're going to be in a more conventional type of game where maybe doesn't chew up the back on offense. I'm thinking maybe FAU can sneak through the back door because, again, we're talking about if that game is 38 points late in the game, 38 points, maybe, Lane Kiffin can have something up his sleeve, push some offensive numbers across the board and get that to 31 or less. I actually would lean on taking the points in this one. I don't want to overreact to see how bad FAU was game 1 versus Navy, so I'll lean on the points in that situation. Next up, Drew, touching a little bit close to home for you here, 377, 378. Auburn versus Clemson. About 4,400 tickets have been tracked offshore. 67% are backing the home team here, Drew. Line opened up at Chris down to 4.5. Pinnacle opened up at 6.5, down to 5. Current lines out there. Bet Online 5.5. You wager 5.5. 5 dimes at 5. Interesting matchup here early in the season. Clemson dominated Kent State, albeit it was Kent State. Auburn comes out with a victory at home. What's going to take place in this game? I mean, this is a showcase game, 7 p.m., that maybe some national title implications could be in. This could spring Auburn back into the rotation of talking about, hey, can they make the playoffs? Can they hang with Alabama at the end of the season? Hey, they went in to beat Clemson here. That's going to go a long way, but the same way with Clemson, who now is the clear front runner in the ACC, they can put their stamp on the season early as well here.
Yeah, you bring up that. I mean, if they go in and beat Clemson in Clemson, the Alabama talk is going to start. Now, I just feel like it's too early for that talk. I mean, we're just not there yet as far as the War Eagles go. Jared Stidham looked good. Granted, it was against Georgia Southern. I like the way the offense looked. Keep in mind the running back went down, but they get Cam Petaway back. He was suspended week 1. Sean White, the quarterback, will still be out. So if for whatever reason Stidham goes down, they'll have the third string quarterback in. It may come into play. It may not. Looking at this total, Donnie, 53.5. You see Auburn versus Clemson. I think, wow, man, that's way too low. But we touched on it earlier. Clemson allowed single-digit passing yards to Kent State. Auburn also allowed single-digit passing yards against Georgia Southern. I mean, those are some crazy stats there. Granted, it was Kent State and a triple option team. But as far as pass defense goes, these two defenses are, I would guess, number 1 and 2 in the nation as far as yards allowed goes. So you get a perspective of why this total is in the low 50s. So I would actually agree with the move.
Yeah, athletes all over the field in this one. I just think, to me, again, square play. If you're going to take Clemson, it's obviously a super square play. Line opened up higher. It's going to be closing a little bit lower. Interesting to see where that line actually ends up. But again, 67% of the wagers currently coming in on Clemson. When you just look at the game overall, you say, damn, Clemson, national champion, blew out Kent State. They're home. They're built for the big time. And I would fall into that trap, being a little bit of a square better in September, which is, again, why I stay away. If Clemson wins, fantastic. Hey, that's exactly the right way to go. But I don't have a great feel in this line. The line moving in this direction scares me a little bit. Again, you don't want to take and say, well, that, like we like to say, that SEC speed, but it does mean something. I mean, there's good recruits on each side of the ball. The same thing with FSU, who wasn't able to hang and beat Florida, wasn't able to beat, Alabama in the first game. But again, Clemson is built like an SEC team, that type of height, that type of speed, that type of athletic ability. I lean Clemson here in this situation. And again, I'm saying, hey, I know it's your alma mater, Auburn, but I'm going to go against you here in this one.
No, that's I usually don't bet Auburn either way. I keep my head and my heart out of it. But I would be careful on that SEC thing because I know Florida State lost. Granted, it was to Alabama, who's likely the best team in the nation. But Clemson and Florida State, year in, year out, they're kind of built the same way that the SEC West in particular are, as far as big, fast defensive linemen. Pretty much all of the front seven on the defense really gets after it, and you got the team speed on the outside as well. So I wouldn't necessarily compare Auburn with more athletes than Clemson. I think that they're actually on a pretty even playing field as far as talent goes.
No, yeah, that's why I compared them to an SEC caliber type team.
Yeah.
I mean, they see the same type of athletes. Again, that's South Carolina, so they're right in that recruiting ground where they compete with SEC teams and certainly win a lot of those recruiting battles. It's going to be interesting to see how that game does play out. The one thing I always give Auburn credit for, Drew, in the SEC, they're the one team I think that actually wants to play offense in the SEC. LSU would like to take it back to 1941 with 16 fullbacks in the backfield, it seems like. Alabama, when you watch them in a big game, sometimes it's absolutely painful to watch, but the one thing that they bring to the table is the athletes are unbelievable on defense, and it makes for a painful game at times to watch. Let's see if Auburn can actually open this game up a little bit, put some points, and force Clemson to go toe-to-toe with them. So I'm interested in that game. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it will be an exciting one. 7 o'clock ESPN Eastern. It will be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, late cap for us here on Saturday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Boise State, Washington State, $399,400 on your rotation. 65% are backing the home team here. Wazoo line opened up at Chris, 7.5, currently sitting at 10. Pinnacle opened up a little bit higher at 9, but that's currently sitting at 10.5. 10.5 at BetOnline. Also, you wager in 5 dimes, both coming in at 10. Boise State, not the type of firepower we're used to seeing them. I know they did put out a victory week 1, but those older, let's just say from 2002 up till, a couple years back, that team used to run wild on teams. And again, this line would be a lot closer. One of my good buddies is actually the special teams coordinator for the Washington State team. Went to college football with them, doing a very good job up there with the Pirate Mike Leach. So we'll see what factors into this game. Over under at 57.5. But again, if you're just getting into the business again, saying, hey, we'll open up, hey, Boise State getting 10 points. Boy, they always play good football. Buyer beware. This isn't one of your more talented Boise State teams here, is it?
No, and Donnie, that seems to be kind of the trend here is people going against Boise State, thinking the program has fallen off. So I'd like to get a little bit more of your opinion on that. I was actually looking towards the dog in this just because I thought, Ripon. They also got the kid Cozart from Kansas who transferred over. Against Troy, they were actually using him in some unique situations where he had some good rushing yards. So don't be surprised to see that in this nightcap. Wanted to talk about this one mainly to have a nightcap. Everybody wants to have a one last bet going into
bailout game, baby. Yes, sir.
Yeah, what's it called? The ketchup bet? What's
I
that
call
called?
it the bailout. Like, hey, I lost all my games. Let me just double, triple, quadruple down. It's all good. Let's lean it on this last game. Yeah.
Yeah, the degenerate special. I like it, man. But yeah, Boise State is actually the way I would look. I mean, you can grab it 10.5 now.
Yeah.
Washington State, I just think that they have a tough time closing out games. I think they won 31-0 or something like that. But Boise State's a different animal than their week 1 opponent. So I just think that I know it's kind of in the minority, but Boise State with the athletes at the quarterback position, I think that back door might be open as well.
No, it could be interesting there. Folks, we are about 10 minutes outside of first pitch, about an hour and a half, I would say, outside of opening kickoff. So we're going to get this along here. Me and Drew are going to come back in just a few segments here and give some final touches on baseball, maybe a college football game you can kick on, and also go over some final numbers in the NFL game. But before we do that, a lot of stuff, since me and Drew have been talking up here, a lot of stuff's been going on Twitter and the outside world that we're not privy to. So Across the Wire, which typically has SBR editor-in-chief Zach Jones come in, we're going to pinch hit here. Superman producer down there in Costa Rica filling in. Matty Ice DeCero. Matty, keep us updated. What did I miss out there, huh?
What's up, guys? How's it going? Good show so far. I've been listening in.
Oh, thanks, Matty. Yeah.
Yeah, hey, paying attention.
Yeah, you needed to be told that. Well, first things first, big news today. There's apparently a football game tonight. Are you guys aware of this?
I believe there is a game tonight. Yes, correct.
All right.
It may get more views than the Utah State game. We're not sure, though.
Who gets more views, this show or the football game tonight?
I don't know. We can put some odds on that for sure. First things first, though, I got to do a little due diligence here. Today's the last day before football season starts for NFL, obviously. And we still have space left in our Beat the Bag competition. It's $25,000, free to enter. And how hard could it be to outcap a Canadian guy, right? So there's the link in the
Matty, I'm
description.
trying to log into this. I saw the rules. Matty, I saw the rules on this competition. And me and Drew allowed in this thing or what? Can we get in?
Yeah.
All right, good. There we go. Go ahead.
Link's right in the description, man. Sign up, super easy, no problem. I'm glad I forgot to shave before this show. That looks good. Let's see some news. Browns cut safety Calvin Pryor today after scuffling with a teammate. Do you guys see them getting picked up so close to 3 days out of the season start?
You know what? I didn't even see that information. Somebody actually tweeted me, is the guy any good? And was trying to do show prep. I didn't even think about it. So I don't know who that's going to help or what it is. I'd like to have more information on it. But as soon as we get off the air, I'm certainly going to read about it.
Yeah, he's quite a good player. So I'm kind of surprised. But, fighting in the locker room, beating guys up 3 days before the season, not a good look. Let's see what else we got here. Interesting. Another thing, too. You guys familiar with this Craig Carton? He's a radio host in New York.
Absolutely.
He got arrested yesterday for a Ponzi scheme, about $6 million to pay off gambling debts that he had. They say he's going to get 35 years, and he's probably going to get it, actually.
Not yet. Exactly. You're in the sports business. I'd have had more respect for him, Matt, if the guy was actually up $3 million and got pinched. That guy would have been legendary. Not being a sports guy and being down like $3 million. That's terrible.
Pretty rough. That's a lot of money to be down, too. I don't know what the hell you're doing to be needing $6.5 million.
That's not 3 million colones. That's 3 million US.
No, 3 million colones. Nothing. That's like $5,000. No problems there. Yesterday we polled our audience. I know I was supposed to do this yesterday, but we had some tech issues, so I'm going to reuse this question. But we polled our audience yesterday. About 400 people voted. I was curious to see before the Ezekiel Elliott suspension came down. 49% of those people thought he was going to get no games, and only 12% thought he was going to get stuck with the 6 games. What did you guys think going into it? Did you guys think he was? I personally thought they would knock off 2 games or so, but I wasn't expecting them to keep it at 6.
Yeah, no, I actually thought it was going to be less. Usually when you come, hat in hand, they say, all right, we'll cut it from 6 to 4. Let's just be done with this. But the NFL doesn't like to get into these knockdown dragouts, and it looks like it is. I'm surprised he's able to play game 1, but now I'm reading, Daniel Wallach following along on Twitter. Some people actually think this injunction is going to be almost like a Tom Brady thing. It's going to extend in the next season, so he might be able to play all 16 games this year. It's going to be interesting to watch, but yeah, very fluid situation. I'm shocked that it wasn't handled already. And of course, the NFL waits to the last minute like they usually do.
Yeah, you got to ask yourself the question. I mean, with these legal issues, when you just kind of delay, whether it's the NFL or not, it seems like these lawyers just keep doing that, and it works to the benefit of the person defending themselves.
Yeah, I don't know. Either way, I was a little surprised. Let's see some more news. Drew, you think Budweiser is a civilized beer, or just compared to Natty Ice?
Well, definitely compared to Natty Ice. And yeah, I mean, Budweiser, it's just solid. Budweiser's not going anywhere. It's just a solid beer when you need a good cold beer on a hot day, tailgating for some college football, man. It doesn't get much better than Budweiser.
So you get a little clarification there. I guess that's it for me, guys. Just wanted to pop on and talk about a few things. Thank you for having me.
Way to pinch it. Where's the now? I'm hearing that we're shredding waves instead of being on the air. What goes on down there in Costa Rica?
Yeah, I don't know. Zach left at lunch and he said he was going surfing, so here I am. No, we
appreciate the help there.
So me and Zach are going to tag team in here and there. I'll pop on sometimes. He'll pop on sometimes. So you guys don't get too tired of any of us. We got dogs walking around in the background. All kinds of crazy shit going on today.
What are you doing for the game tonight, Matt?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I was going to ask you about that. I forgot. That was going to be my closing question. So I already know me and Drew are going to go watch the game together. But Donnie, what are your plans for the game? And do you have a routine or a ritual, I guess, for the first week of football? Is there a place you always go, or is it something you always do?
No, less people the better for me when I'm around football, because I sort of break my mold when I'm alone. I say a lot of things that are very mean. I get really loud in situations. If you can put me in a cage with a TV, it's probably the best spot for me, especially during Eagles games, which is the best thing. Going on Sunday this week, I'll be on with Gabe before the game, and then on at halftime, it might be pure mayhem depending on what the Philadelphia Eagles are doing this weekend, especially opening day.
All right. And Drew, I'll see you soon.
All right, buddy. Yeah, we'll see you at the bar at the bottom of the mountain here in Costa Rica, huh?
Bottom of the mountain bar, because we don't remember what it's called. All right, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'll be
all right, Matty. Thanks, man,
soon.
for going in with Across the Wire for SBR editor-in-chief Zach Jones. That was Matty Ice there pinching in. Look, 6:55 Eastern time. We got a couple minutes before first pitch. We're going to try to update some of these lines coming through. Night before, I gave out a winner in the over with DeGrom on the mound. I believe that ended up 9-1 in the Phillies. Last night on the show, I actually gave out the under in the Phillies game, and the rain dance helped me out wonderfully because I would have ended up probably losing that game. So 1-0 so far, giving out plays on the show here. If we take a look, Aaron Nola and Tanner Roark on the mound. Line dipping down a little bit. You can now get plus 128 for the Philadelphia Phillies. Obviously, minus 138 in a 10-cent line with Washington. Looking at Pittsburgh and Chicago, that line sitting at 131. Cincinnati now rising up. You're seeing some steam hit this number. Minus 133 now in the favor of Cincinnati over Matt Harvey. That's one of those lines that you're certainly going to want to take a look at. Some other lines coming out 300 now, dipping a little bit there in Colorado and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Cleveland and the Chicago White Sox still sitting hot and heavy at 260 at Pinnacle. And Gibson and Gaviglio now sitting at roughly a pick'em. Play that I'm going to go with. I'm going to fade Matt Harvey. I'm going to go with the quote-unquote sharp money here. Let's go with minus 133 at Bet Online. I'll give that as my play. Drew, anything out there you want to give? Maybe a college football play to look at. Maybe a play tonight for the people watching Major League Baseball or the NFL game tonight. Why not?
Yeah, I'll stick to what I know. I know that's something in the investing world. So I'll go UCF Memphis over 69.5.
There we go. So we'll stick some information and knowledge there. A couple minutes left before first pitch. Thanks for tuning into the closing line. We do this all week long, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Usually like to run it to about 7 o'clock, getting you ready for the games. I'm really excited about this NFL football game between the Patriots and the Chiefs tonight. Really, really excited for Sunday NFL football. It's all here. It's all what you want. You're going to have baseball. You're going to have playoff baseball coming up. Confluence of college football, big games, conference play. NFL is getting started underway. So exciting times here. I want to thank you, Drew Martin, for joining me tonight. College football expert with SBR Sports Picks. Also give him a follow on Twitter as well. Check out all the latest at SBRodds.com and the latest on social media, following us on Twitter at SBR Sports Picks. Also subscribe to us on YouTube. Give us a like. Let us know what we're doing. Let us know we're doing good or bad. We do like the feedback as always from all of us at sportsbookreview.com. Good luck on your wagers, and we hope we helped you beat the closing line tonight.